Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I am Jackie Stafford with our marketing department, and we also have Camille on the line with us today. We're going to talk about marketing with a customer service focus. Welcome to our webinar. We all know that customer service is important, but exactly what is its role when marketing to new customers? As many of you know, our parent company actually owns a funeral home and mortuary division. So they've done some research, and thanks to them, we have some great data on what the role customer service plays in marketing is. When they asked people how they chose which funeral home to use, they actually found that 60% of the people said that they rely on friends and family to help them make that decision. That's a huge portion of your incoming customers. And that's really where marketing and customer service overlap the most. What makes those family and friends refer people to your funeral home? The answer is going to be customer service. Your customer service is all about creating advocates for your funeral home in your community. Good customer service is an investment in your funeral home's future. So what does that take? An advocate is going to be more than just a satisfied customer. This is someone that is willing to talk about your business to others. And in death care, we know that's a harder challenge than it is in most industries. It's a difficult time in people's lives when we're dealing with them. And they aren't going to really be motivated to talk to other people unless you give them a really good reason to. So people talk about the things that surprise them, not just the things that meet their expectations. So customer service for our industry is really going to be about finding those places where we can go above and beyond. This is going to be a process that takes time. That means both time to identify how your funeral home can create those kind of above and beyond moments, and then also time to see those efforts pay off. But it's definitely worth it. So let's take a closer look at what makes someone refer their family and friends to you. Quality customer service is going to be your baseline. So you're going to want to make sure that every member of your team treats the family with care and respect. Think about creating systems that ensure your clients get the best service every time, whether that's a checklist you go over every call or maybe a second employee that confirms things were handled to your standards. Find ways that you can make sure that kind of baseline level of customer service is met every time. Remember that we tend to remember when things go wrong, even if everything else was great. So one mistake can kind of spoil an otherwise positive interaction for the family. Of course, nobody's perfect, and we will make mistakes, but you're going to want to be prepared to fix mistakes that arise. So is there someone at your funeral home that can kind of reach out to the family, make a heartfelt apology, and resolve the issue? Is this something where you can go above and beyond in that resolution? If so, that problem becomes another opportunity to impress your clients. And while it might seem like a hassle in the moment, the potential for creating an advocate out of your business for your business going to be well worth the trouble. So the kind of baseline is where you start. Then another great way for creating advocates out of your customers is to create moments of magic. So give your customers something to talk about. Find places in your pre-need and your at-need meetings where you can go above and beyond. Create a special moment for your clients that they'll want to share with their family and friends. What does that look like? I was actually speaking to someone from Memorial Mortuaries and Cemeteries, which is part of our funeral home division. And he shared something that I thought was really interesting, so I wanted to share with you guys. At several of their locations, they actually budget a small amount for every service for this kind of magic moment. When their funeral directors meet with the family, they try to identify something about the deceased that they can honor during the services. He shared an example where, for some reason, it had come up in their meeting with the family that the deceased had really liked Del Taco tacos. So the funeral directors arranged for some tacos that were available for the guests as a surprise after the service. And through some signage, they made it clear that this was a gift from the funeral home to the family to honor that loved one. Obviously, making it clear that this is a gift from the funeral home to the family and that not something that some other relative did is important in kind of making sure they attribute that magic moment to you. But it provided a moment of joy and nostalgia for the family, and it created a moment that they were going to want to share with others. So, of course, it doesn't have to be tacos, but if there's some decoration or a special touch that you can create that kind of adds to that moment, that's going to be the kind of thing that makes people go out and tell other people that you want to work with this funeral home. They really go out of their way to make you feel appreciated and cared for. Another great way to build your reputation is to get involved in your community. Get involved in local events, or maybe even consider hosting your own events at the funeral home. This builds trust and gives you another opportunity to interact with potential clients. And of course, it's also a good way to talk about your pre-need programs. So we always want to remind you guys of that. Um, we focused a lot kind of on the at-need services so far. I also want to talk about, what does great customer service look like for pre-need agents? So we can go to the next slide. And that's going to mean building trust with your clients. So spend time getting to know your customers and their needs. You want to make sure that you're selling to your specific clients and not just making kind of a general sales pitch. It's also really important to understand what you're selling. So make sure you are super familiar with your goods and services at the funeral home, as well as Security National's policy and payment options, and as well as the benefits that kind of go along with those policies. Those are always a great thing to tell families about. So it's really important that you're familiar with those so that you can do a good job presenting them to the family. And then finally, follow up after the sale. Reach out to the family, make sure that they're satisfied, make sure that they know how to reach you if they have questions in the future. That does a great deal of good for building that trust with the family. You can also take a look at what customer service looks like after the funeral. So consider following up with families. We can go to the next slide. Following up with families 30 days after the funeral. Ask them how they're doing, if they're satisfied with their care, if they're waiting on anything from you guys at the funeral home. You can also consider additional types of outreach after the service. Some of the examples of this include maybe sending greeting cards out on important holidays or birth dates, providing grief resources to families, or maybe creating a memorial ornament around the holidays, honoring your lost loved one that you can give out to the families. This is a great time to involve your pre-need agent in that process as well. Have them be the one that follows up with the family or delivers those additional items after the service. It's a great way to kind of build a relationship between the pre-need agent and the family, so that they're more responsive to future pre-need outreach. And I will also say another great tip for customer service is including your pre-need agents in your at-need meetings. Of course, they don't have to sit there for the whole thing, but when possible, have the pre-need agent briefly drop by that at-need meeting and just introduce themselves to the family. Say, hey, I'm so-and-so, and I'm our, family service counselor, or I'm pre-need agent, kind of whatever you go by there. But meeting the family gives agents a chance to build trust with the family. Families who have met the pre-need agent and recognize their name are going to be much more responsive to follow-ups and potential pre-need conversations down the line. It's also a good idea for you as the funeral home to track your customer satisfaction. So you might want to consider mailing or hand delivering a survey to the family. We can go ahead to the next slide. This is a great way to spot your funeral home's strengths and weaknesses. These surveys are also a really great way to establish a connection with the family of the deceased and offer more information about pre-planning. Like if you've, not had any luck with your initial kind of follow-up with the family, this is another chance for that interaction. So you want to make sure that if possible, your pre-need agent is the one either delivering that survey or tracking the responses when they come in, so that you can be receptive and reach out with pre-need offerings if that's something the customer is interested in. If you're interested in doing surveys or other follow-up options, I would really encourage you to talk to your pre-need manager. They can be a great resource for helping you set up that sort of thing. And finally, I would say that make the most of your advocates. When you have a customer that you know is really satisfied, ready to share their stories with others, encourage them to leave a Google review. This makes that kind of word of mouth review go even further. So if you're interested in learning more about Google reviews, I would really encourage you to watch our previous webinar on how to manage your Google business profile. You can find a link to that on our pre-need training page, and we'll also include a link in our follow-up email that goes out after this webinar. So that's kind of our overview of what customer service looks like and how it can have that big impact on your marketing, especially that kind of word of mouth marketing that's really valuable for us. So I want to open it up and ask if anybody has any questions. We'll give you a couple minutes. You can either drop those in the chat, the Q&A, or if you need to raise your hand, we can do that as well. While we're giving you guys just another couple minutes, just in case you have questions, I do want to reiterate, thank you for joining us today. I know that customer service seems like kind of a basic thing, but it's really a great opportunity. And when you take time to kind of look at existing processes that you're used to and find ways to improve, you really see great effects from that. And also, I'd encourage you to go back and watch our previous funeral home webinars. Like I mentioned, we've got that one about your Google business profile that's really handy. It's more than just Google reviews. There are other things that you can do with that. And we've got a couple other webinars that we've done that are a great resource. We're going to keep doing these for you guys, but they are always there so that you can go back and watch them again in the future. And I have not seen any questions, so I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up today. Thank you everyone for joining us. I hope you have a great day, and we hope to see you guys at our next webinar in 2025.